Hey guys, Cole here from Shark and Soft Designs. I'm going to show you how to make epoxy knives from start to finish, and they legitimately are kitchen knife like sharp. This is just a piece of melamine. I already got my mold, just the basic shape marked out in Sharpie. I'm going to lay it over top of this one, so that's why I had it just cut in half there. So I just cut it in half, and now I'm just going to drill some holes in it. The holes are just there to make sure you can get your jigsaw blade into there. So just taking a jigsaw and cutting the inside of the mold out. So as you do this, if you're making this kind of mold, I would suggest putting in a lot of time into making the shape, because the shape is going to be how the epoxy is going to be no matter what. So like making your finish perfect to begin with, or spending the most time on here, is going to save you in the long run. Mine wasn't too great after I cut it out, so I just grabbed my rotary tool with a 80 grit on there just to clean it up a bit more. And if you're really stringent about this, your finish will just be that much better and a lot less work for you in the long run. So now brought it inside, got the mold in. I'm gonna put tape on the inside, and on the inside of the mold I put epoxy on that just to seal it off. So it's sealed on the inside plus the tape, so it's just like double sealed. Now you want to silicone the underside of your mold and put some weight on there just to make sure that there's no leaks, and the silicone will do its job. Now I use Epoxy. This is a 2-to-1 epoxy, and this stuff is made, I believe, from soy beans or soy plant, some way or another, so it's technically food safe. And you want, when you get it mixed, you want it to be perfectly clear. I am doing a bunch of additives of mica powders and inks and stuff just to give it some different colors. So this first mold, I'm just doing a white. I would recommend, like, see how I have it weighed down here? Weigh your wood so it doesn't float to the top. And if you're weighing things down, use this tuck tape again on the top side of whatever your mold is. I didn't do that, so some of the wood that's in there I had to like sand down for forever, and some of it dipped into the epoxy on the knife blade, so I had to really sand that down. And this is just more porno for ya. Porno. And this is a green pearl, this one. It came out pretty good in the end. I'm actually surprised. I should have put maybe more mica powder into it to give it a more pearly look to it, but for the amount I put in, it worked out pretty sweet. This next one's a violet pearl, and like the violet has a little bit of green to it. I think it might have been a violet to green shifting pearl, and like it turns out more pink in the end, and it's pretty nice once I get it all finished up. And then I guess I should say, in that first mold, I did already have just some clear in there, so then I could come back and I added in gold flakes. I just got them off eBay because there was like gold, silver, and copper that came in a package, and it was way cheaper than any of like the craft store stuff, and it was cheaper than Amazon. So sometimes you just have to peek through good old eBay to find the best deals for things. So this has been about 72 hours later, and everything's hardened up. I had an extra little bit of epoxy that was in a cup, and I could press the finish and press it with my finger to see if it was good. So to get them out of the mold, you got to use a little bit of a chisel and hammer just to get everything up. You could use a little bit of heat too, but again, probably don't use the torch, use a heat gun. But if you do everything right, you can get your mold demolded with like no problems, and everything comes out pretty easily actually. So here I'm just showing off how it will look. You can still feel and see the tape lines on there, but don't worry about that, you can sand them off. Now to get them out of the mold, I would recommend giving them a little bit of heat. These still weren't super hard, so it was pretty easy just to heat them up, and then I put a towel on the top side and smacked them out with a hammer really, really carefully, like really light. So this is out of the mold. You can see there's a lot of junk left over for where it seeped in under the silicone and stuff. And that white one was the thickest, and unfortunately the clear one was too thin, so it's more of a decorative knife. Well, the other three are legitimate knives. Then here, I'm just doing like a sanding montage on using the belt sander to get your complete shape kind of thing. Don't wear gloves with this when you're doing it like that, because you could get your glove caught, and you're not going to rip your hand off with this, but it'll at least hurt like hell. So that's why I was doing it without any gloves or anything, and just wear your PPE. So now I'm sanding the top and, well, both sides of it, I guess, the face sides. And I did 80 grit, 150, and then 220 for all of them, just with the random orbit sander. I do higher grits for a couple of them, and just leave them at 220 for a couple of them. And then for getting your edge with your knife, I found that the higher I went with grits, the crappier my edge got. I did 220 or 150, 220, and that was my best edge. So to get your edge, I just held the random orbit sander and like just skim it along the top at a super low angle. Like I'm only going up a 2 pennies high or a penny high or like 3 millimeters just to get that like 15-degree kind of angle, like super low angle. So this is how I did it, was literally just hold it in my hand. If you had put your sander down on the table, you could use 2 hands, but this was enough like pressure that it will get your nice edge. So 220 is where I would leave it for your edge. If not, you start rounding it over and smoothing it out so much that you won't be able to cut as good, is what I found in my experience. You might be able to get it better with knife making. I know they do like 800, 1,000, 3,000, and then polishes and all this kind of thing, but this is what I found works for epoxy because it's a lot softer. So this is immediately after sanding. You can see like my hands are still dusty, and this is Costco like coupon paper, and it slices through like nothing. Like these things turn out to be legit. And then this is just clearing it up if you want to take a peek at where you're gonna get with a final finish if you go with a glossy look to it. And water just is easy because it dries quick and you're good to go. So I sanded them all and got them ready. So this is basically how they work. Like they cut through pretty much anything, no problem. And I didn't have any tomatoes, or I would have showed that you could. I did other tomatoes, and you can cut tomatoes with them like nothing. Like it slices through just as good as any other kitchen knife you have. And you can even go through the harder stuff like nothing. Then I probably wouldn't recommend using your normal sharpening stuff on these, because it's not going to be the same as metal. Like this is a lot softer, so if you're sharpening, I'd go back to just your 240 grit. So this is what they all look like without any finish on them or anything like that. So I just use this like cutting board conditioner because it's food safe, so that'll give the wood a little bit more to it. So that's a full knife for scale, so they're a little bit larger, but you know, they all came out pretty sweet. I made a handle for the gold leaf one. I just didn't have time to do the handles for the other ones because I'm gonna be auctioning one, so I'll maybe put handles on the other two. So yeah, this is the one I polished up to 3,000 and then put a polish on. It's not too much better, but you can always do that. This, I just wood glued, like carpenter wood glued some cedar onto it. Works fine. And this I also polished up to 3,000, like wet sanded, and then used a car polish to get the clarity back. I got a different video on how to like polish epoxy because it's a little tedious. And yeah, that was how you do that. So thanks for watching.